let me go back to the first time that I heard you on the radio, which must have been about 1954.
All right.
You'll Never Walk Alone.
That was the first year.
Now, the amazing thing was, I think I heard you on a program which was playing this new music, rhythm and blues, that a lot of us had never heard, and all of a sudden, everybody was turning on to it, you know. Do you have
the new sound?
The new sound, right? You know, which has been around for years in many different ways. But do you have any idea why at that time it just suddenly caught on? Have you thought about that?
I really don't know. I spent about 5 years in the gospel field prior to going into the popular field, and I, well, seemingly took that spiritualistic quality, I imagine, into the popular vein. Mm-hmm. And when I sing a popular song, then it comes out a bit different, you know. And this was a new era, so to speak, in musical interpretation. At that time, I imagine the public just seeking something that has a little more soul, you know, I imagine.
You know, pop music didn't have it at that time. Doggy in the window.
1954, that was the year that it all started. My first recording was, Walk Alone. And at the time, well, just prior to my recording it, I just knew about 5 or 6 numbers at the time. And You Never Walk Alone was one of them. And this was getting the greatest reaction. And I met a fellow named Bill Cook, who was a disc jockey at the time. And in fact, he was number 2 in the whole area of New York, New Jersey. And he took me over to Epic and introduced me to them, and we recorded You Never Walk Alone, and that was it.
How did you happen to pick that one? Were you doing this in an act at the time?
Yes, at the time.
And this was the one that you were getting response on?
Yes, the greatest response was on that.
What made you decide to leave the gospel field and go into pop?
Well, prior to the gospel field, I was in the popular field, but I couldn't get a chance, a break, because I really had nothing different to offer, and they were seeking blues singers at the time, and I didn't know any blues at all. And so after my group, the gospel group broke up, and each one went in its own direction.
What was the name of that group?
The Searchlight Gospel Singers. We were pretty good around the New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia area, Pennsylvania. And each one went their own way. I think one of them came out here someplace named Sonny Wright. And I just went back into the popular field. And at that time, I had something different to offer. And the public accepted it. It was my first recording, You Never Walk Alone. It sold over 3 million right off.
I think it'd be interesting to compare some of the changes in the recording sessions, say, in that first one and the one that came up later. Did you find, say, you'd spend more time later, or that it was less complex in the beginning when you go into the studio? How many takes, for example, did you do on You'll Never Walk Alone? Do you remember how many times?
I believe it was 7, I believe. But it seemed that the first take was the one that they accepted. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was about the second or third take. Whereas they was looking for the exact same thing, but this was actually an accident. That libido trill, I would say, that came out because the arranger cut the musicians out at that point. And in my interpretation was trying to get back, softening to them, was this, and that's it. Everybody said, that's it. And that's what happened.
Now, was Ebb-Tide after that, or was If I Loved You after that?
If I Loved You was second. It's another tune from Carousel, like You Never Walk Alone was. Rodgers and Hammerstein tune. And Ebb-Tide was my third recording. And then Hurt and I Believe, and Unchained Melody followed that.
Unchained Melody now is really the first one that broke into the pop category, wasn't it, for you?
Well, Uptight was the first, I think, that really broke all the way into the pop area. At that time, it was classified as pop and R&B. You know, You Never Walk Alone was like considered as R&B, but although we was getting quite a bit of pop reaction too. Uptight went #1 on both charts, and Unchained Melody also did the same thing.
You had some competition with that one, too.
Yes. I think Hibbler did that, and a big band, Les Baxter, yes. In fact, he had the original recording on it, and I heard it by him on my way, I think, from Boston to Salisbury, Massachusetts, I think. I heard the instrumental version of it, and called Marvin Holzman the next morning, who was the A&R man of Epic at that time. I told him that I wanted to record it, find me some words for it, you know. And by the time I recorded it and released it, I think Hibbler had a version on also. So all three of us was going at the same time.
Did this happen pretty often? I mean, that you would select most of your material this way, or did the company ever decide what they wanted you to?
Well, the company naturally has a voice because they are going somewhat all out and putting up monies and so forth. But so they have a voice, but it was primarily picked between the A&R man who represents the company, my manager, and myself. I have the final word as to the final selections.
Of all the people, say prior to your entering into secular music as such, or even gospel music, who do you feel were the people that were most important to you? I don't use the word influential, but people that you enjoyed and might have listened to a little closer than others as artists.
As artists, and more influential, you say? You mean after the popular, after
well,
the
just any time. Let's just say from the start, people that impressed you.
Sinatra has always impressed me. He's quite a technician as far as vocalizing is concerned. Ella Fitzgerald has always impressed me. Vocalizing, well, Eckstein had a quality that's quite unusual. It's very few, but most of the major acts, like, King Cole as well, has been always my favorite, you know. Well, that's about it. Belafonte, I love his act, his technique, and execution on stage. And in similarity, I guess my act is primarily around there, but popular instead of folk. You know?
I saw your act the first time, as I think I said, in Fort Worth, one of the Rhythm and Blues package shows. Could you recall for us? Those must have been interesting tours, or maybe they were hell. I don't know. But what were those like? Now, you know, you and an array of other people, guest making one-night stands all over the country.
Well, this is rough. This is, I think, the roughest in show business. There's one night touring, packing and unpacking. You know, sometimes you get into a town, you don't have a chance to really settle down, get yourself some food, decent food, and rest and all of that. You know, in fact, during the earlier part of my career, after about 2 years of this, I took ill, you know, pneumonia, dietary deficiency, rest broken, everything just hit on me all at once, which I retired from show business about 1.5 years. And by the time I come back, Elvis Presley was shaking his hips and everything, and doing this "Don't Be Cruel" and so forth. So this is when we recorded "Don't Let Go," which was another a big mover for me. And You Can Have Her, I Need Your Lovin', Pledging My Love, all of those.
Oh, God. One of them. What was, how did they travel on these tours? I'm really interested in that
Oh, yeah?
original tour situation because that was about 54 and 55 is the first time that the rhythm and blues artists really began playing to integrated audiences. You will remember, and really the white kids were really coming in and
in fact, we
thing.
were the first to take out one of those big package shows, and it was sponsored by the agency that I was with, Tim Gale Agency, through Irvin Fell, who was another very important name in this business. Took out one of these package shows. This was like after my third or fourth month in the business. And I had Bill Haley, a few other acts like that on the show. I had about 10 days. We traveled by bus. It's an organized thing, and it's well organized. It's just you don't get much rest. Now, there was another bigger package, very big package that we had Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland, whereas we traveled by train. They had an organized train thing. Perry Como was the star of the show at that time, and Patti Page, Nat King Cole, Juice LaRosa. We had about 85,000 people in Chicago's Soldiers Fields. And now this was a much better organized traveling show. The smaller, the less organized. That's just the way it is. Illinois Jacket and another act was on the show, and myself. We toured for about 52 one-nighters, I think, and it's through the South and Midwest. This was very hectic, but it was a fantastically successful tour. But there we had an accident, a car turned over, and the pianist broke his arm. You get all kinds of things, and the people actually don't know all of the suffering, that you have to go through in order to bring talent into a place. It's something else, really.
How did you feel? I guess you've heard the Righteous Brothers do a couple of your songs with the phrasing almost intact from the originals. How do you feel? Are you flattered, or do you?
Well, it's a sincere form of flattery. They do a beautiful job and a bang-up job, soulful. And, it's a I don't know. It's a feeling of gratitude and being very proud. Yeah, I think.
Well, they spoke very highly of you when I talked to them in the interview. They were citing people that had been very important to them, and you were right at the top of their list.
Yeah.
I just wondered how you feel when you hear a song like that. Someone called you recently, and I think it was a nice line. They said, Roy Hamilton, the original Righteous Brother.
All right. Very good. I like that. I'm the fifth Beatle.
Well, what do you think about the music scene today? Now, what they used to call rhythm and blues has become very much the sound of the country, if not the world. And there are the labels just don't apply anymore, thank goodness,
Well, this is a thing that I predicted about 13 years ago, I would say, that there will come a time when the popular music will be bridged to the spiritual music. And this is the indication today. It's a spiritualistic inflection to pop music. Maybe I'll never get the credit for starting this type of thing, But that's where it started from. You Never Walk Alone and songs of this nature.
Yeah, because even Ray Charles hadn't done his first gospel favorite things until a couple of years later on record.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
It was long after, I recorded You Never Walk Alone. It was on the charts and everything that we were, Faye Adams, myself, were just fooling around singing in this little lounge, on one of the one-nighter tours. And I guess who was playing the piano? Ray Charles. And this was long before he was even unknown at the time.
Was that out here?
No, this was in Miami at the Sir John. That was the name of it at that time. I know. It's the Sir Walter Raleigh or something like that. It's a motel. But now they've changed the name to Sir John Hotel. And this is where we was playing around,
I wish we had a record of that.
And I've started several acts also, which maybe I would never get the open credit for it. But I saw Sam Cooke's possibility when he was in the spiritual field with the Soul Stirrers. In fact, I brought, through Bill Cook, my manager, and myself, we brought him and his family to Newark at the Coleman Hotel and recorded his first 2 records. But they didn't get anywhere, but I still saw the potential, but he wanted to get back, and because he felt that it wouldn't happen for him. So he went back to Chicago. But the next thing I heard was, darling, you send me, And Brooke Benton, I started him also in show business.
He's a talented fellow. He's a songwriter, very good songwriter.
Well, his story was I had more to do with his career than I had with Sam's. At the time I met him for the first time, he was singing at a little club there in Newark, New Jersey. And the name of the group was the Kingsmen. And I saw the possibility then, and I took them out on the road with me and recorded them with Epic, which their OK label. And but nothing really big happened to them. And finally, after several years, I saw him in a publisher's office. And then I just took over then completely to help move him. And this was during the period that I had retired from show business, to give him a break at it. So I asked this publisher to let him record all of their dubs, give him the mic technique and the access to songs in which he can maybe pick one for himself. And during the interim, he was writing also with Clyde Otis. And finally, they came up on several tunes. One in particular was Looking Back, and I was at that time back in the show business and in South America, in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro to be exact. And that would have been his tune if I had been in the States at the time. So finally they wrote another tune, and they come to me excited about it. They said, this is it. Roy, hear this one, I'd like for you to record this. So I heard it. I said, yes, that's it. This is a great tune. I said, I'd love to record it. Brooke, I said, this is your opportunity. And I think you ought to take it. And the name of that tune was It's Just a Matter of Time.
It's a great song.
But this was over a span of about 3 years, assisting him and trying to move him.
All right, so many people. Lou Rawls, Muddy Waters, different people.
Yeah, Lou Rawls is from the gospel field too.
He was from the
Soul
same
Stars.
group that Sam was with.
Yeah.
Well, so many of them keep telling me
the
about
Pilgrim Travelers, I think he was with. Yeah.
Now, they keep telling me about the fantastic reception that the American blues artist has gotten overseas, especially in England, Europe. Is there really a different reception?
Well, it's much more appreciated Um, like the same, we just take the same show, whatever that might be. And, just recently I was in the Far East. I was in Japan, Okinawa, Taipei, Hong Kong, Bangkok, Thailand, Karat. And especially there in these officers' clubs and NCO clubs, soldiers, they're out there and they're risking their lives. They're home, away from home. So it's very seldom that you ever get an act from the States over there. And they well appreciate it, in fact, you would find your most appreciative audiences are the soldiers over there. It's somewhat like a message from home, so to speak, like we haven't forgotten them. It seems that an artist, is less respected in his own home, his own place, than in a place in the world.
It's always been that way, right?
So it bees that way sometimes.
Yeah.
But the States have had, they got so many acts, I imagine, and we have so much television and everything that, it takes off the edge of enthusiasm, and inspiration, perhaps.
Well, no, I may not have covered it, but is there anything that you can think of that for this history program that we ought to include about you that I haven't gone over? I know a lot about you. I just talked to so many people. Sometimes I kind of get my things mixed up, so I don't want to forget anything that you think is valuable here that we ought to have.
Well, what in particular?
Oh, just anything regarding music that, at all.
Well, I don't know. At present, as far as I'm concerned, I am seeking material, and this is one of the major things that you have to look for in this business in recording. You have to find a good piece of material. You have to find a good arranger that knows what to do with it. An A&R man that knows how to put it in the grooves and on the tape. And then you'll, depending upon the salesman and distributing, and there's so many things that depends upon what makes a hit record, and then finally to the disc jockey and playing it in the public and the retail stores, So it's a lot of things, a lot of bottlenecks, and it's just not easy, really, to get something going, today, especially with all of the competition and the scratching and backbiting and everything else that goes along in the business,